integrated CBSE biology class. I am Sudhi here. Today we are going to discuss about the chapter number 2, control and coordination. Control and coordination. In this chapter, we want to discuss about the topics tropic movements in plants, plant hormones, their functions, then animal hormones, their functions, then human nervous system. It's an important topic regarding this chapter, and there will be a lot of questions regarding this chapter, a lot of questions regarding this topic in the board exam. So finally, reflex action. All are the important topics regarding this chapter. We want to discuss about all the topics. So first of all, from the topic, it is clear that there will be control and coordination. Control and coordination. So as we all know that all the organisms in the universe react and respond to the changes that happens in the surroundings. All the organisms in the universe react and respond to the changes that occurs in the universe. Whatever the changes must be in the universe, the organisms respond and react to that changes. So plants respond to that reaction, or otherwise we can say that plants react to that changes occur in the universe. Animals also react to that changes occurs in the universe. Every organisms in the universe, that I simply says that every organisms in the universe respond and react to the changes that occurs in the universe. But the thing is that plants and animals react and respond in a different way. React and respond in a different way to that changes. There will be a lot of difference regarding that reaction if we compare plants and animals. So the changes that occurs in the universe, if there will be a change that occurs in the universe, with respect to that change, the plants and animals response, then that changes is responsible for the, or otherwise we can say that that changes is responsible for the reactions, responsible for the reactions. So that changes we can say that simply called stimulus, or otherwise called stimuli. With respect to that stimuli, the plants and animals react. For example, heat is a stimuli. It's an external agent. We can say simply that it's an external agent which is responsible for the reaction of the plants and animals. So what are the stimuli is responsible? For example, we can say that heat is a stimuli. With respect to the heat changes in the atmosphere, plants and animals react. Cold is also a stimuli. That's called heat and cold. Together we can say that temperature and gravity, force of gravity, then some chemicals, all these are examples of stimuli. With respect to all the changes, with respect to all these changes, plants and animals respond. But they respond in a different way. So here we want to discuss about plant movements. So what is mean by plant movement? It is the movement of plant or plant part like root or shoot, with respect to an external stimuli. It is the movement of an individual plant or plant part with respect to an external stimuli. That's simply called a plant movement. Plant movement means it is the movement of individual plant or plant part like shoot or root with respect to an external stimuli like heat, cold, or simply we can say that with respect to temperature, with respect to gravity, with respect to some chemicals, all are stimulus. So due to an external stimuli, if the individual plant or the plant part moves, plant part like shoot or root have some changes, then we can say that there will be a plant movement. And what is mean by tropic movement? It is the directional growth movement of plants. Or plant parts. Directional growth movement of plant parts. The tropic movement can be considered as two: positive tropism and negative tropism. What is mean by positive tropism? The changes, as we know that with respect to the external stimuli, there will be a changes occurring in plants. With respect to an external stimuli, there is changes, or there must be a change occur in plants. if the change is towards the stimulus, if the change is towards the stimulus, then we can say that the tropical movement is called positive tropism. If the changes occurs towards the stimulus, then that tropism is called positive tropism. If the changes occurs in plants is away from the stimulus, then that tropism is called a negative tropism. Then that tropism is called a negative tropism. So here about plant movement and tropic movement. As we know that what is mean by plant movement? The movement of individual plants or plant parts like shoot or root with respect to an external stimuli like temperature, gravity, or some chemicals. That's all are stimulus. And tropical movement, it is the directional growth of plant parts or plants with respect to an external stimuli. If the changes occurs in plants are directed towards the stimuli, then we can say that that tropism is a positive tropism. If the changes occurs in plants is directed away from the stimulus, then we can say that that is a negative tropism. Right now, we want to discuss detail about plant movement. So moving to the next topic called types of movement in plants. Now we are going to discuss about types of movement in plants. So the movement in plants are of two types. They are dependent on growth and independent of growth. So the types of movement is dependent on growth or independent of growth. There are two types like that. One type is that it will dependent on growth, and the next one is that independent of growth. First, we want to discuss about what is meant by independent of growth in the case of plant movement. So it is immediate response to a stimulus. In the case of independent of growth, in the case of plant movement, if there will be an independent of growth, that it is not dependent on growth, it is independent of growth, which means that it is immediate response to a stimulus. In this case, it is called immediate response to a stimulus. For example, in the case of a touch me not plant, when we touches it, immediately there will be drooping of leaves. Immediately there will be drooping of leaves. If we touches the touching me not plant, immediately there will be drooping of leaves. That is an immediate response to a stimulus. Here the stimulus is touch. So with respect to that stimulus, immediately the leaves are drooping. That means that it's an immediate response to a stimulus. That stimulus is touch. This process is called, or this is called thigmotropism. This is called thigmotropism. Immediate response to a stimulus. So when a stimulus is applied, there will be an immediate reaction to that stimulus. Then that is called a thigmotropism. There will be another term called thermotropism. Thermo related to, as we all know that thermo related to temperature. The growth movement towards temperature or the plant growth with respect to the temperature is called a thermotropism. The plant movement towards temperature is called a thermotropism. So if there will be an immediate response to a stimulus, that is called a thigmotropism, such that if we consider an example such that if we touches a touch me not plant, the leaves are immediately drooping. That is an example of thigmotropism. Because when we touches it, that means when we apply a stimuli, there will be an immediate response from the part of the leaves. So that is called a thigmotropism. So the types of movement are of two types. First one is dependent on growth. It is dependent on growth. In the case of dependent on growth, there will be four cases. That is phototropism, geotropism, chemotropism, and hydrotropism. Hydrotropism is simply related to water. As we all know that hydro is a term related to water. So hydrotropism is simply related to water. Chemo means chemicals. Chemotropism is simply related to chemicals. Geotropism is simply related to gravity. And finally, phototropism. Photo is related to light, as we all know. Photo is related to light. So phototropism is a term related to light. Geotropism is a term related to gravity. Chemotropism is a term related to chemicals. And finally, hydrotropism, which simply means that it is related to water. So we want to discuss about what is mean by phototropism, what is mean by geotropism, what is mean by chemotropism, what is mean by hydrotropism. So first, what is mean by phototropism? The plant growth with respect to light, or the growth movement of plants with respect to light. Growth movement of plants towards light. Also we can use the growth movement of plants towards light is called phototropism. The growth movement of plants towards light is called phototropism. So photo is related to light. The growth movement of plants towards light is called phototropism. There will be two types phototropism: positive phototropism and negative phototropism. Phototropism are of two types: positive phototropism and negative phototropism. The growth movement of shoots. The growth movement of shoots. So the shoots, here light is the stimuli. With respect to light, the growth movement of shoot is an example of